I'm excited. I'm going to share with you something called the success system that never fails. I learned the majority of what this is back in the 1970s when I worked for a man named W. Clement Stone, who was worth about $600 million. That'd be $1 billion with today's inflationary standards. And I have used this system in my own life to create over $100 million worth of value for me and for the companies I work for. I have literally just had amazing success in every area of my life, whatever you can name, whatever it is. So I'm going to teach it to you today, how to get from where you are to where you want to be, wherever that might be. And the key is it works if you work. And I always say the system always works if you always work the system. I'm going to start with some humor. It says, so in retrospect, in 2015, not a single person got the answer right to where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And the reason I'm asking you to laugh a little bit here is that when you secrete endorphins into your brain, it's a natural opiate. You get a little high, but also you remember more of what you learn. It says the most useless purchase of 2019, a 2020 planner. I love this. This is probably the most useful purchase for 2020. You can get these t-shirts now with your picture on it so they know who the heck's behind these masks we're all wearing. If 2020 was a slide, if 2020 was a math problem, if you're going down a river at 2 miles per hour and your canoe loses a wheel, how much pancake mix would it take to reshingle your roof? I love this. He says, my two hobbies are smoking marijuana and rescuing stray cats. And here's two women talking about their computers, older women. One of them says, my memory really sucks, Mildred, so I changed my password to incorrect. That way, when I log in with the wrong password, the computer will tell me your password is incorrect. So today, as we go through this next hour and 25 minutes that we have left, our main objective is to learn how to go further and go faster with more impact, more profit, and less struggle in your life. So if we could do more, produce more, have more income, more fun, more profit, and less struggle, wouldn't that be great? And this is how you do it. Basically, I'm going to help you break out of the maze, go straight to the cheese, so you don't get caught in the stuff that stops most people from being successful. And the promise I make is that you can double your income and double your amount of impact, double your time off at the same time, have more balance in your life between home, work, and family, and you, and then achieve greater levels of happiness and fulfillment in your life. Now, most of my students do that in 2 years or less. Many of them do it in 1 year or less. And I've had people do it in 6 months or less. So think about this. This system I'm teaching you is like knowing the combination to a lock. If you know the right numbers and you have them in the right order, you can have anything you want. But if you have a combination lock and you have all the numbers but one, doesn't matter how hard you work, that lock will never open. And a lot of you are missing some of the key factors that are keeping you from being as successful as you'd like to be. And then some of you are doing the right things, but you're doing it in the wrong order, or you're doing it the wrong way. And again, that lock will not open if you don't do it in the right order. So as my good friend Orrin Hudson says, Orrin's a chess champion in the state of Alabama. I wrote a foreword for his book called One Move at a Time. And he said when we were having breakfast down there after Hurricane Katrina had rolled through New Orleans, if you know the combination to the lock, it doesn't matter who you are. I don't care what country you're living in right now. I don't care if you're 23 and you're just starting out, or you're 65 and you're retiring and you want to have a new career. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, yellow or brown, high IQ, low IQ, went to university, didn't go to university. It doesn't matter if you know the combination the lock has to open for you. So that's what I want to share with you today, a system that is the combination for that success. Now, this system is contained in my book, The Success Principles, which you heard about, the Success Principles Workbook. And I wrote the foreword for 2 books last year. One was called Homeless to Billionaire by Andres Pira, who was at 19 living on the beach in Thailand. And at 35, he was a multi-billionaire worth $3 billion. In 15 years, went from homeless teenager to successful entrepreneur, billionaire. And the other book, written by Raphael Badziak, someone who lives in Poland, interviewed 21 billionaires and found out what is the secret, what are the principles and strategies and daily disciplines that billionaires have. And what you're going to find as I go through this, the same things I'm sharing with you are the same things that Raphael found with the billionaires, and the same principles that Andres Pira wrote about in his book. Now, interestingly enough, Andres Pira watched the movie The Secret when he was 19 years old, living homeless on the beach. And that's what changed his life. And within several months, he had a job. Several months after that, he was a manager in that real estate brokerage company that he got involved with. And pretty soon, after a couple of years, he was actually building buildings and then eventually building resorts. And he read The Secret. Then he read my book. And then he basically now has written his book. And so these are the principles that are going to take you where you want to go. I shared these with a group called Remax of Indiana, a real estate industry company in Indiana. And within 2 years, the office doubled their total sales, became $1 billion operation. 86% of the agents doubled or tripled their income in 2 years or less. So again, these things work if you work them. Kabir Khan, 19 years old when I met him, living in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. And he came to my workshop for a day, started applying the principles. I wrote about his success in my book, The Success Principles, which he then was doing a book signing for in Malaysia. And he went on to win what would be the Guinness Book of World Records in Malaysia, called the Malaysia Book of Records. John Caleb, totally homeless when I met him. Literally had $3 or 3 pesos, 35 pesos to his name. And he was couch surfing. And I came back 2.5 years later. He was a millionaire. He was wearing this suit you see now with this medallion on the jacket. And had 12 people in their little entourage wearing that same medallion. And he had now become the #1 motivational speaker, online promoter, digital platform guy. He became known as the money magnet in the Philippines. Again, all attributed to the success principles that I'm teaching you today. So I want you to take notes. We're going to go pretty quickly here. I want you to take notes. Take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. This is the foundational principle of everything at all. Take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. Notice it doesn't say 99%. How would you like to be married to someone that was 99% committed to monogamy? Every day you'd have to worry about, is today. And so you want to have the same commitment to being 100% responsible for the results you produce in your life, for your happiness, your health, your level of wealth and comfort and pain-freeness and all of that. You are 100% responsible. And I want you to act as if that is the case. There's a chapter in my book called 99%'s a bitch, 100%'s a breeze. Once you make a commitment, 100% committed to do the things you need to do to create the success you want, there's no more arguing in the morning. Am I going to get up? Am I going to meditate? Am I going to make those 5 calls? Am I going to write that blog? Am I going to go on social media today? The conversation's over. You know you are, because you've scheduled it. You've made 100% commitment to it. Doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's cold, if you don't feel like it. None of that matters, because you've made 100% commitment. And basically, I'm going to ask you to act as if everything you're currently experiencing, you either created it, promoted it, or allowed it to happen right now. And everything in the future, you are creating, promoting, or allowing in this moment. If you want your future to be better, you have to do something different to create a different future. You can't be doing the same things, as you'll see in a moment. So act as if. Now, let's say you're not 100% responsible. Let's say the universe only says you're 85% responsible and 15% is left to chaos and chance. I'm going to ask you to act as if, because what I know is the people that are my students that act as if they are 100% responsible for their life. They are the ones who become the millionaires, the multimillionaires, the movie stars, the generals in the army, the Olympic athletes, the professional athletes, the successful entrepreneurs who are cleaning up people online that are doing amazing launches and making, millions of dollars a year, because they are taking and acting as if they are 100% responsible. Teddy Roosevelt, former president of the United States, said, if you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. So we are responsible. Abraham Lincoln said, don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Just a little humor there. Now, I want you, if you get nothing out of this hour and a half we're together, get this, write this down, indelibly imprint this into your mind. E plus R equals O. This is the formula for success. What does it mean? It means there are events in your life that occur. You then have a response to that event, and that produces an outcome. The outcomes are what we call how wealthy we are, how healthy we are, how happy we are, how good our relationships are, how much fun we're having, etc. Now, what most people do when they don't get the outcomes they want, what they do instead of changing their response, which would be the ultimately smart thing to do, is they start blaming the event. And blaming the event doesn't get you a different outcome. It is a response, We go to the Ain't It Awful Club bar or wherever it is online now, and we complain and we blame, we make excuses, and we get commiseration from other people. They agree with us, but it doesn't produce a better outcome. You're not wealthier because of it. You don't have more clicks, on your order page. You don't have more social media followers on your YouTube videos, whatever. The reality is you have to change your response. An event, your birthday is an event. It rains on your birthday. If you could get all upset and then have a lousy birthday, that'd be the outcome. Or you could decide to have a birthday party in your house. You could have a picnic in your house. You could set up a tent in your house with your kids. Doesn't really matter. We'll see in a moment that we have much more power to choose than most people ever have given ourselves credit for. So E plus R equals O. Our power is in our response. That's where the word responsibility comes from, the ability to change our response. Now, I want you to think about this as a mathematical formula, because it is. 2 plus 2 equals 4. The world's doing 4, the world's doing 2, you're doing 2, and you're getting 4 as the outcome. 4 could be, a $300,000 a year income. 4 could be you have 1 million followers on Facebook, whatever. But all of a sudden, let's say something happens, technology changes, the world has an economic disaster, and now the world's doing 1. And you keep doing 2, you keep responding the way you've been responding up until now, and you're getting 3, which is not the 4 you used to get. Or let's say the world does 0. All of a sudden, there's a huge impact on your life, but you don't change. Now you're getting 2, half of what you used to get before. So we have to change our response. We have to do 4. 0 plus 4 is going to equal 4. Excuse me. And that's going to require you to do something very, very, very different, to step out of your comfort zone. Now think about this. Along comes the coronavirus, the pandemic, the lockdown, the sheltering at home, closing of restaurants, closing of theaters, not able to go to sporting events, can't do big trainings. I just did a tour in India right before the coronavirus happened. And, 4 cities, thousands of people in each city. Can't do that anymore. Can't have trainings in America. Had to pivot everything to online. So we had to change our response to promoting live events and now start promoting online events, which is what you're here to talk about today, ultimately, and also learn how to do tremendous online events, how to use Zoom and StreamYard and Google and all these different things that we had not put that much energy into before. We had to pivot $400,000 worth of deposits for live trainings into online training, and hopefully lose all those people. Had to get really good at doing that and developing programs, which are great, and we did it. But the point is, we had to do some radical new responses. Now, a lot of people just basically went into fear, went into resignation, went into blaming, went into complaining about things, and their outcomes got more and more, worse. And so we have to be willing to change our response, however uncomfortable it is. So changing a response is where your power is. Now, Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, which I recommend you all read. It is a success classic. And in that book, he said, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. So the pandemic, with all of its challenges, has within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Equal or greater. Now, think about that. Very interestingly, in my world, a lot of people were talking about the new normal. What's the new normal going to be like? Well, we don't talk about that. We talk about the new better. Is there a way that, in fact, because of the pandemic, we can do better instead of normal? 2 examples in my life. I had a keynote scheduled with Bacardi, the people who make rum down in Bermuda. And I would have had to go there on a Tuesday, speak on a Wednesday, excuse me, and then fly home on a Thursday, 3 days out of my life for my $30,000 fee. The reality is I didn't have to go there. I walked down from my bedroom to my office. I gave an hour and a half keynote. I got my $30,000 fee, and I didn't have to fly home the next day. And instead of 400 managers getting me, they decided to have the whole company that was sheltering at home and working from home. 4,400 people watched that. We sold more books, more programs, more online things happened. As a result, it's a new better, not the new normal. And then we now have our programs online. And normally a live program, we get 150 to 300 people in LA. And all of a sudden now we're getting 500 people from 47 countries going through the same seminar online, making more money with less expense. No hotel bills, no my travel, my staff doesn't have to go anywhere, no airplane, no food, the new better. But you have to look for it. You have to figure out, how can we turn this to our advantage? I love what Jen Sincero said in her book. If you want to live a life you've never lived, you have to start doing things you've never done. So I love the subtitle of her book, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. But it means you have to step out of your comfort zone. I want to demonstrate this with you really quickly. I want everyone to fold your hands like you see on the screen, or perhaps you see in the little screen with my hands. And what I want you to do is notice which thumb you have on top, your left thumb or your right thumb. And then what I want you to do is separate your hands. And then I want you to fold them one more time and notice which thumb is on top. Now it's the same thumb. It's called a habit. And you'll do that the same way every single time. However, what I want you to do to show you what has to happen in order to grow, to get out of your comfort zone, to have a new response, to create a new outcome, to pivot, I want you to unfold your hands, move all your fingers up a notch, move them together again so the other thumb's on top. Don't just move your thumbs, move all the fingers up and put the other so the other thumb's on top. How does that feel? And most of you would say it feels awkward, it feels strange, it feels yucky, it feels wrong, I don't like it. And notice what your body wants to do. And let your body do it. It wants to go back to the old way. So let it go back to the old way. How does that feel? Comfortable? A lot of people go, ah, relief. This is me. Now, right there is why most people never really succeed at creating extraordinary lives, because they would rather be comfortable than do the uncomfortable thing that's new that would allow you to go to the next level. Everything you do that's new, by its very nature, neurologically, is going to feel uncomfortable. The first time you ever gave a speech, the first time you ever did a Facebook Live or did an Instagram Live or hosted your own live webinar online, the first time you asked someone to enroll in your program, to invest in your project, the first time you drove a car, or especially a stick shift car, first time you kissed anybody, first time you asked for a loan, all of those things were uncomfortable. But when you did them and survived them, you got more comfortable doing it in the future. And research would show you, and I don't have time to do it today, but if this was a 3-day seminar, I would have you hold your hands like this in the uncomfortable position for about 5 minutes in your lap. And after a few minutes, you would lose sensation that it was uncomfortable. It would start to feel normal. It would start to feel comfortable. Everything that's new that you do for a while begins to feel comfortable. And so we have to go through the discomfort stage, the uncomfortable stage, and get out of our comfort zone. And that's where the growth actually occurs. So you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think Richard Branson from Virgin Airlines said, if you're not feeling a little bit scared every day, not terrified, but a little bit scared every day, then you're not growing. So we have to be constantly out of our comfort zone. Remember, everything you want that you don't have is just outside your comfort zone. You know, you go skydiving, and for the first time, it's scary as hell, but then you survive it. You do it a few times. Now it's an adrenaline rush. You want to go back and do it. Now, one of the things you have to give up, one of the responses that doesn't produce a positive outcome, is blaming. Look at all the things we blame. People right now are blaming the economy, high prices, Wall Street, the pandemic, the president, the prime minister of your country, blaming the Congress, the government. You know, President Trump blames the media, fake news. The Democrats blame the Republicans blame the Democrats, whatever that is in your country, the conservatives versus the liberals, people who don't vote. We blame the traffic for making us late. People blame the weather, the coronavirus, computer systems. We blame other countries, China, Iran, India, North Korea, Mexico. We blame immigrants, both in Europe and in America. We blame our competitors, new regulations, OPEC, the European Union, our employees, our team members, our parents, our wives, our children, our neighbors, and we could go on down for a longer list. A lot of time we spend blaming stuff. It's just a waste of time. It produces no better outcome. E plus blaming does not produce a better outcome. And these are all things outside of you, 99% of which you can't control anyway. You can have an impact, you can vote, you can, write articles, write books, be a social activist, etc. But most of this you're not going to have much impact on. It is what it is. The tsunami happens, the hurricane happens, the pandemic happens. If you're blaming stuff outside of you, you're in a place of victim conscious. I'm the victim. If that hadn't happened, my life would be better. But it did happen. So we're constantly challenged to grow, to adapt, to pivot, to become more successful, to learn new skills, to partner up with people, to ask for what we want, etc. Now, the other thing we have to do is give up complaining about all the things we just saw that people blame about, that we complain. I call it the Ain't It Awful Club. It used to be that everyone would go to the same bars and complain about things. Now we do it online. So ask yourself, what have you been complaining about lately, or who have you been blaming? Just take 15 seconds and think about that. If you want to type that in the chat, you can go ahead and do that. But what have you been complaining about? Who have you been complaining about? What have you been blaming for the lack of your success? And whatever it is, that time spent doing that, that mental effort spent doing that, could be spent solving the problem, asking other people for what they're doing, studying the successful people, reading a book, going to a summit like this, going to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, etc. Now, for those of you who complain, I want you to think about this. This is a little boy named Matty Christensen. At 11 years old, he had no arms past the elbows, no legs past the knees. He had this lacrosse cage appended to his prosthetic arm. That was both his pitching hand and his catching glove. And he was on a little league team in New York that went to number 2 in the state finals. In other words, they lost the championship game with him as the pitcher with this contraption on his arm. He could have said, I give up. God's not fair. The universe sucks, whatever. He didn't do that. He said, it's not an obstacle. It's simply a problem to be solved, which he did. He said, you have to give up all your excuses. It's an 11-year-old. Then he said, you have to become solution-oriented. Think about that. This is the attitude we want to have. I saw this on the internet several months ago. It says you can either make 1 million excuses or you can make $1 million. You can't have both. And I think that's so totally true. So you have to give up excuses, complaining, and blaming if you want to be successful. Some of you may have heard of Martin Luther King, great civil rights leader in America. He had that famous speech that he gave. You probably all remember the title of it. I Have a Complaint. Do you remember that? No, what was it really called? It was called I Have a Dream. He understood putting energy on what you don't like. And he had a lot to complain about: racism, people threatening his life, burning down his church. Instead, he said, I have a dream where all little girls and boys, no matter what their color, what their race, what their background, what their religion, will be judged by the quality of their character, not by the color of their skin. And so he understood that you have to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And so again, no blaming, no complaining, no excuse making. We want to focus on goal setting, our vision, affirmations, visualizing that, working toward it, talking about it, empowering that with gratitude and with emotions, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So again, focus on what you want, and then focus on what you have. Right now, if you're focusing on what you don't have a job, don't have this, don't have as many clients, can't do that. Instead, focus on what you do have. If you're watching this, you have a computer or a laptop or a phone, you have access to the internet, you have access to all the trainings that are out there, all the courses that are available, all the books you can read online, all of the YouTube videos you can watch, all of the TED Talks that are available. There's so much information to get better. It's an opportunity to spend time to do that right now. And as you get better and apply what you learn, then you can apply it and become much more successful. Now, there's only 3 responses you have any control over in your life: your thoughts, what you think out loud and quietly to yourself, the images that you imagine, your imagination, your daydreaming. Worrying is just negative visualization. You're just visualizing terrible things in the future instead of visualizing the results you want. And then behavior, what you say and what you do, what you don't say and what you don't do. So these are the 3 things you have control over. We hear about things like time management. You can't manage time. You can manage your behavior in relation to time. You can manage your thoughts in relation to time, but not time itself. So I want to focus on the power of your thoughts for just a minute. This is really, really, really very important. Sarah Blakely, who was the first female billionaire in America who didn't inherit it, and that basically started her own business with no investor money. In other words, she never got investor money when she founded Spanx, and she's on the Forbes 100 now. And she says the mindset is the single most important thing you have as an entrepreneur. You have to work on it every single day. Mindset, your thoughts, your beliefs, your paradigms. This is really, really critical. And what we know now from quantum physics is every thought you think is sending out a vibration. It's like a radio signal that's going out that has information and it has energy. We can pick up people's energy. Is it negative? Is it positive? Are they enthusiastic and high energy? Or is it low energy? Are they depressed? And so basically you're like a radio station that's going to attract listeners, not only through your social media, which is actual, vibrations on the internet that have information that goes out that's amplified by electronic waves, but your thoughts also vibrate and are sent out through what one of my friends calls the internet as opposed to the internet. And we know that those thoughts can go a minimum of 238,900 miles, because we've done experiments with astronauts on the moon sending their thoughts down to students at Duke University, and those students picking those thoughts up. They would have the astronauts open up random envelopes, 10 envelopes. They would shuffle them. They were numbered, pick number 5. They would then open that envelope. There'd be a shape in there, a square, a circle, a triangle, a pentagon, whatever it might be. And then they would close their eyes and they would focus on that image for about 4 or 5 minutes, while students at the university in Duke, down in North Carolina in the United States, would close their eyes and just see what kind of image they were getting. And way beyond statistical chance, the majority of them were getting it correct, which means with no amplification electronically, we know that our thoughts can travel almost 250,000 miles, which is easily around the circumference of the earth. So we are attracting people through our thoughts, through our energy. Very powerful work. If you haven't watched the movie The Secret, I encourage you to do that. If you haven't studied the law of attraction, I encourage you to do that. Now, the next thing we have to do, once we realize the power of our thoughts, if we want to be successful, we have to define what is success. You have to decide, what is it that you want? Where is it there you want to be? If we can get from where you are to where you want to be, where do you want to be? And it has to be very specific, as we'll see in a minute. Now, you all know about GPS systems, the global positioning satellite. You've got it in your car, it's in your smartphone, it's Waze, it's Google Maps, it's a number of different things like that. And the reality is, if you look at this map, you see 929 Via Fruita, that's my address in Santa Barbara. I can put in an address down in West Hollywood. I get in my car and it tells me through the GPS system where to go. I don't have to know. It just tells me say take a left on 100 on the Route 101, get off at Sherman Oaks, whatever. The same thing is true for your mind. You have an inner GPS. An inner GPS, what I call an inner goal-producing system. And what happens is that you simply have to know what is the destination. If you're clear and consistently focused on the destination, the what is it you want, the how will start to show up. I will show you in a minute the how to make the how show up. You have some mental powers that when they're used correctly will unleash your subconscious creativity, will change your perceptual system so you start seeing things and perceiving things outside of you that you never saw before. And it will also attract to you, through the law of attraction, which we just talked about, opportunities, people, resources, finances, all kinds of things. We'll give you a couple examples of that in a minute. General Wesley Clark, former head of Allied Forces of NATO, and he was also a Democratic, he ran for Democratic nomination for president. Amazingly successful guy. I met him in a conference and we talked at great length about success. And he said something really interesting. He said, it doesn't take any more effort to dream a big dream than it does to dream a small dream. Think about that. You don't have to scrunch up your face more. You don't have to think harder. You don't burn up more calories. It does whatever it is. It's no more effort. You simply put another zero instead of 300,000, 3 million. Why not? You can write that down as a goal. Now, also, I love this. Richard Branson said, if your dreams don't scare you, they're too small. If your dreams don't scare you a little bit, if they're not like, oh my God. Now, it has to be believable. You're not going to run a 100-meter dash in 2 seconds. That's beyond anyone's belief. But you can have beliefs that are a stretch. A lot of people say, well, I'm making 200,000 a year. Well, let's go for 250 next year. No, why not go for 400? You already know how to do 200. So if we can double that somehow, do twice as much, means twice as many people, learn how to do that, we can double it. I have 10 times my income from 6,000 to 60,000 to 600,000 to 6 million to 60 million. And each time I did it, I was like, oh my God, this seems almost impossible. But I chose to believe it. I chose to do the actions that would produce it. And I did, in fact, do it. So we're going to set a goal in just a minute. I want you to dream big as we do that. So the power of goal setting. Successful people set goals. We know that. There's research on that. I won't go into it. I mean, tons of university studies. The top 3% of people are goal setters. Top 3% of people in America own 97% of the wealth. And they're all people who set amazingly high goals. Now, we're going to set a breakthrough goal today, you and I. And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you in a moment to set a goal that if you were to achieve it would be a major breakthrough, not a minor little thing. I'm going to give you some examples in a minute. And it would require you to grow in order to achieve it. means you'd have to learn how to do something different, learn how to show up different, learn some new skills, maybe overcome your fear of asking, fear of rejection. Maybe you'd have to learn how to get comfortable doing, 30 Facebook Lives in a month, whatever it might be. We'll talk about that. But I want you to set a goal that's a breakthrough. Here's some examples of some of my students who set breakthrough goals in the last couple of years. Create my own 5-minute radio show. Chiropractor in Texas did that, speaking in the morning as people were driving to work in the morning. And he opened 4 satellite offices by the end of the year. He just had 5 minutes in the morning talking about subluxations, talking about diet, talking about relaxation, meditation, all those kind of things, nutritional supplements, etc. And because he was so enthusiastic and so reaching so many people, he had to open 4 satellite offices, hire other chiropractors, and he would rotate among the 5 offices every week, and then they would handle the other patients the rest of the week. Write and publish a book. Totally changed my life. Open up China as a market. One of the reasons we've sold 500 million books, we sold 3.5 million books in 315 million books rather in China, 315 million, and 100 million in India. So you can see huge markets. So if we can figure out how can we penetrate a market like that, 1.3 billion people, that's a breakthrough. Have 2 million Facebook followers. That might be a breakthrough for a lot of you. Develop a successful online podcast. Make $1 million on my next product launch. Double my sales. Triple or 10 times my income. Now, these are breakthrough goals. Get a client like Apple, Google, Facebook, Uber, Lyft, whatever. So I have friends who have $1 million contracts with those companies, make $1 million a year. Or if you were a coach and you had $100,000 a year coaching clients, that's $1 million income. And I know people who do that. So it's not impossible. So I want you to set a goal in a minute that would be a breakthrough. Now, as you're thinking about this, I want you to realize that whenever you're in the here and now and you set a breakthrough goal in the future, something happens. You start to see all these little things come up in your mind. We call them considerations. All the reasons why you think you can't do it. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just starting out. I'm too young. I don't have a big following. I don't have a big platform. Nobody knows who I am. I've only got, 10,000 people on my Facebook page. Whatever it is, those are just thoughts. They're going to come up. They're natural. They're supposed to come up. Fears come up. Oh God, what if it doesn't work? What if I invest money and I lose it? What if my dad judges me? What if I have to ask my dad for a loan? And I hate asking my dad for money. And the third thing is roadblocks. Real things that are out there that could stop you. Perhaps a lack of money right now is a roadblock. Perhaps a lack of time. You're working 2 jobs. Now you're going to do this. Maybe you want to do this, but your wife doesn't want you to. So all of these things are natural. Whenever you set a goal, they show up. The problem is most people see them as a stop sign, and then you give up. You don't let yourself set the goal. You don't let yourself pursue the goal. I want you to realize, just like labor pains when you're getting pregnant, this happens. You're going to have to go through that. But the baby gets born. You're going to have to go through the birthing process, and the reality is that it's just natural. And so don't take it as like, oh, this means I'm supposed to stop. And so if you've ever been to the arcade where they have this whack-a-mole game and they put $1 in and then these mole heads start to show up and you have to whack them down before they go back down. If you hit enough of them before they go back down, you get points. If you get enough points, you win a doll or a stuffed bear or something like that. Well, when you set a high goal, when you make a stretch, when you commit to something you weren't going to do, when you invest money you weren't planning to invest, when you invest time that you didn't think you had, whatever, what happens is all these moles are going to start coming up. These are the things that have been stopping you your entire life from being super uber successful, from being in that top 3%. And this is the good news, because up till now they've been subconscious. And now that you're basically taking that next step, what starts to happen is they surface. And now we can say, oh my God, I have this limiting belief that money is corrupt, or money will, is the root of all evil, or that it's, you have to be a bad person, or that all my relatives will come out of the woodwork, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm dumb, or I don't know enough people, or you have to have a college education, which you don't. I have a whole chapter in one of my books of about 50 people who are famous people, vice presidents, CEOs, billionaires who never graduated college, many who never graduated high school. So the point is, as these come up, we get to handle them. And that's a benefit. Now, goal is something I want, which is measurable in time and space. What does that mean? How much by when? So a goal has to be stated in a specific way with a certain deadline on it. I'm going to give you a couple examples here. I'd like to increase my income. Everybody wants to do that. That's an intention, a wish, a hope. It's not a goal. A goal would be, I will earn an annual income of $300,000 by 5 p.m. January 31st, 2021. And you can fill in whatever number works for you there. 300,000. If you're already making 300,000, make it 600, make it a million. But it has to be specific and have a date and time by which a third person can come over and measure it. How many square feet, how many followers on your Instagram posts, whatever it is, it has to be measurable on a certain date, observable by a third person so we know if you did it or not. So again, how much, by when? Like to write and publish an online course that will help people overcome their fears and go for their dreams. Great intention. That's nice. However, the goal would be, I will write and publish a transformational online course and sell 10,000 copies by 5 p.m. January 31st, 2021. So again, very specific. So I want you to think now, if you think about this, if we were to meet here again, you can either make the date by when, October 11th, 2021, that would be a year from now, or you can make it January, December 31st, so that we know it's the end of the year. What date would you like to commit to? A year or a year and a few months? And what's the measurable goal? I will what by when? If we were to have a reunion a year from now, what would you like to be able to come back and say, oh my God, because of that seminar, I did this. And then write it down. Goal needs to be written down. There's research that shows that people who write down their goals are 33% more likely to achieve their goal than people who don't. And one research thing that was published in the USA Today recently by a university professor showed that people that write their goals down had an 1,100% increase over people who didn't. So I will what by what? I'll be quiet for 30 seconds while you write. And don't worry about the how. Just commit to the what. What is it you really, really want? Write it down. All right, very good. So now that we have this breakthrough goal, let's spend some time looking at what are the rest of the principles we have to apply in order to achieve that. So we're taking 100% responsibility, no blaming, no complaining, no excuse making. We are committed to the goal. And I would ask you to look, what's the why behind your goal? What would that goal produce for you? If you had that, what would happen? Why do you want that goal? Is it going to make you feel secure? Would you feel happy, powerful? Would it allow you to raise your children better, provide them with an education, give you more freedom? Always look at the why behind the goal, because the why is why you really want it. It's what's going to really motivate you to do the work to get it, because there's some outcome that you get on the emotional side, on the impact side, in addition to just the measuring the amount of money or the amount of impact. My goal is to have 1 million people teaching my work by the year 2030. And the why is I want the world to work for everybody, because my life purpose is to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. And I believe that if everyone did that, the world would work. All the needs would get met. There'd be less war. There'd be less people doing corrupt things. People wouldn't be, they'd be cooperating more than competing, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, one last piece of research. Virginia Tech University. People who write down their goals earn 9 times as much over their lifetime as people who don't. So whatever goals you have, in addition to the ones we focus on today, write them down. Write them down. And then review them once a month. Keep them top of mind. Okay. Next principle, critical. You got to believe it's possible. Just like this cat believes it's possible to grow up and be a tiger. But you have to choose to believe. Belief is a choice. Belief is a choice. You simply choose to act as if. What if you were to live your life as an experiment, and for the next 30 days, act as if everything I'm teaching you is true, which it is, but just actually do the behaviors you would do if you believe that. Do the behaviors you do if you believe it was possible for you to achieve the goal you just set. Napoleon Hill, who wrote that book, Think and Grow Rich, said, whatever the mind can conceive, which you just did, you conceived it, and believe, the mind can achieve. So now I'm going to show you some ways to work on making sure you actually build this belief into your consciousness so that you can, in fact, achieve it. I love this quote from Muhammad Ali. He said, "Impossible is a big word thrown around by small people who find it easier to live in a world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion." And he changed the word impossible. Oops, I hit the wrong thing there. Hold on. I got to share screen again. Uh-oh. I stopped sharing my screen. Hang on. I'll be right back with the screen. All right. Share. And go to my slideshow, which I accidentally closed, it looks like. There we go. So let me know if that's not showing. I believe it is. So he changed impossible to I'm possible. So nothing's impossible. Everything is possible if you simply choose to believe it. So I want you to use the power of affirmations and visualization to lock this into your unconscious and also to release your creative powers. So to do that, you need to create an affirmation. The affirmation format that I want you to use is, I'm so happy and grateful that I am now, and then you would fill in the blank. So an affirmation needs to start with the words I am, because the unconscious takes I am as a command. I'm so happy and grateful, which is two feeling words, which you want to have. And it's stated in the present tense. You don't want to say I'm going to Chicago because you'll always be on a road to Chicago. I'm so happy and grateful that I am now. Let's look at a couple of examples. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now earning a personal income of $300,000 a year. So whatever your goal is that you set, I want you to write an affirmation for that. Put that on your bathroom mirror. Put it on your refrigerator. Put it on your computer screensaver or your cell phone screensaver. Put it, where you're going to see it, the dashboard of your car if you're still driving places. So I am so happy and grateful that I'm now, and then fill it in. I'm so happy and grateful I'm now earning a personal income of $100,000 a year. I did that affirmation back in the 1970s. And as a result of that, I was making about $8,000 a year. And I got, after 30 days of doing this affirmation, you want to do it every day for at least 30 days until it becomes a subconscious habit. I started having $100,000 ideas. And by the end of that year, instead of making $8,000, I made $92,328. Now, I didn't hit 100,000, but I think I was 12 times my income, 6 times my income, something like that. The reality was I got very, very close. And so I said, oh, wow, now I believe this stuff, it really works. And then my wife said, do you think it'll work for $1 million? So I said, sure. We made $1 million bill. We put it on the ceiling. And you've seen these $1 million bills that motivational speakers now hand out. And I said, I'm happily depositing my $1 million royalty check from my best-selling book. And then I did the Chicken Soup for the Soul first book. And then I changed my affirmation to I'm happily depositing my $1 million royalty check from HCI, which was the publisher Health Communications, Inc. And this is a check written to me for $1,130,328. My publisher put a smiley face in the check. First one he'd ever done, first author he'd ever written $1 million check to. And that was for 3 months royalty. He gave out quarterly royalty checks. So that year I made over $6 million in royalties. And then I said, wow, this stuff really works. I've proven it. And I've proven this with literally hundreds of thousands of people around the world who've actually been to my seminars, done the action, and gotten the result. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now talking to large convention audiences of 1,000 or more people. When I started doing that, I started talking to arenas like you see here, basketball arenas and football arenas full of people. I think the largest group I ever spoke to was 20,000 people. I'm so happy and grateful I'm now receiving a standing ovation from a convention audience of 1,000 or more. It's even better than just speaking to them. I started this affirmation. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now working with people in positions of power to create a better world. And within a year, I was invited to the White House for lunch. I got to go down to where the president does the press conferences and pretend I was the president, get a picture taken like I'm pointing to the CNN reporter, which was a lot of fun. So I want you to write down your affirmation for your breakthrough goal. I'm so happy and grateful that I am now, what? Stated in the present tense. It's going to have verbs in it, whatever you're doing, celebrating, earning, performing, depositing, whatever it might be. Make it measurable. You don't have a date in there. The goal has a date. The affirmation does not. Just describe it as if you've already achieved it. What would you be? How would you say that? I'll give you 30 more seconds for that. Excellent. Very good. Now, what I want you to do with this affirmation, every day, I want you to say this affirmation out loud. And then we're going to follow that by closing our eyes and visualizing the goal as if it's already achieved. So your daily discipline is to say your affirmation, then close your eyes, visualize the goal is complete. And if you really want to nail this, you want to do it in the morning when you first wake up, and do it again before you go to bed at night or at the end of your workday if you know you're going to have a more of a social evening with your family or your spouse or friends or whatever, but twice a day. And when you close your eyes to visualize your goal, you want to feel the feelings you would feel. So you're going to see the picture. You're going to hear the sound you would hear, like a standing ovation, or your accountant saying you've just reached $1 million in deposits, or your wife saying, I can't believe we're going to get to on a vacation this year, or your kids squealing as you're going up and down the roller coaster at Disney World, whatever it is, and then feel the feelings you would feel if you'd already achieved that goal. You're an actor in your body, feeling the feelings you'd feel. Really powerful. What that does, it programs your subconscious mind so that it starts to activate. And I'll show you the impact of that in just a second. Well, right now. So when you have a vision for what you want, that doesn't match your current reality. Current reality is you're living in Chicago, or you're living in Norway, or you're living in, Ghana, wherever. What happens is you then set a goal to have a vacation, let's say in Dubai. And so you're saying, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now enjoying my week-long vacation in Dubai. That's the vision. The reality is you're not there. And what that does is you say that and visualize it, it creates something in your brain, which the psychologists call structural tension or cognitive dissonance. What it means is there's these two matching things that are looking to resolve themselves and come to resolution. There's only two ways that can happen. One is you can give up the vision and accept reality, and now there's no tension. The other is you can hold the vision strong enough, long enough that your subconscious mind goes, this guy is not going to give this up. We better figure out how to get him or her to Dubai so we can relax. And so it starts getting creative. It starts opening up your perception. You start noticing things you never noticed before, having ideas, attracting people through the law of attraction. The next thing you know, you're in Dubai. I had once I wanted to be in Australia, and I had to go. I'm so happy and grateful, sharing all of my information at the Sydney Opera House as I give my self-esteem workshop. And I created a vision board where I put my passport up there, put the Ayers Rock, that big red rock you see. I had a kangaroo. I had the Sydney Opera House on it. And I would close my eyes and visualize myself in the Sydney Opera House, giving this great speech, everyone jumping up and celebrating, then going on vacation out to Ayers Rock, up to the northern part, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. And within 3 months, I got invited to come to Sydney and to Brisbane and do workshops in both of those cities. So it's really amazing what happens when you do this. Now, it doesn't mean you don't do the work. You still have to do the things that you would do in terms of social media, in terms of webinars and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But the fact is, this accelerates everything, like that mouse we saw going through the maze to get to the cheese. Okay, so what happens when the structural tension, if you hold it long enough, meaning I keep visualizing this, visualizing it. We talk about great leaders as visionaries. Walt Disney couldn't get the idea of Disneyland and Disney World out of his mind. He was obsessed with it. Kids get obsessed with having their bicycle or their skateboard or their surfboard or their computer or their DJ outfit, whatever they want to do. Their walls are covered like with soccer players or whatever it is, because that's what they're focusing on. And so we want to do the same thing. Advertisers do it to you all the time. You have seen some ads for the same products 50 times. So we want to do to ourselves for our own purpose, not what advertisers are doing to us, because they understand this. Imagine yourself behind the wheel of a Mercedes. Imagine yourself walking down the beach at Sandals. Imagine yourself, vacationing in, Phuket or whatever. So the reality is we can use this. And what happens then is you get a shift in perception. You start perceiving things you never saw before, feeling things you never felt before. Let me give you an example. You have something in the bottom of your brain stem called your reticular activating system. And what it does is that it decides what gets into your conscious mind. And so as you're looking out at the world, you're only seeing so many things. But as soon as you have this visual structural tension that you're creating, you'll start noticing things that were always there, but you didn't see them before. Do you ever buy a new car and then the next day you see hundreds of them driving around the street, the same brand? Or do you ever, have a appliance like a refrigerator breaks. The next day you notice in the paper there's 20 ads for refrigerators on sale. Well, they were always there. You just never saw them because you didn't need a refrigerator. Now, what happens, I want to demonstrate this to you. Right now, you're not aware of what you're feeling in your right foot. But as soon as I say right foot, you can feel it. And then if I say left hand, you can feel what's in your left hand. You can feel the sensation of your left hand. Now, that information was streaming up your leg and your arm up your spine into your brain, but your brain was filtering it out. Same thing happens when you're looking out into the world. You're seeing certain things and everything else is filtered out. We tend to filter in anything that matches our beliefs. So if our beliefs are negative, we see things that reinforce our negative beliefs. If we change our beliefs to positive and we change our vision to the things we want rather than what we don't want, we start to see the things that will actually inform that and actually help us get that. Books that we never saw, TV shows that we should be watching, YouTube things, just spike up into our brain. The second thing that happens is you get expanded creative ideas. All of a sudden, you're having these ideas in the shower, when you get out of bed, when you first wake up, as you're falling asleep, when you're meditating, which I highly recommend you do. By the way, one of the things they found out when they were working with these billionaires doing the research was that everyone that was interviewed of the 21 billionaires in 21 different industries in 17 different countries, they were all meditators. Fascinating. They all got up before 5:30 in the morning and they all exercised. And we'll talk about that, what I call the hour of power in the morning, reading, exercise, and meditation, and also visualization of your goals and saying your affirmations. The third thing that happens is you'll get increased motivation to take the actions, to do the actual things that produce the results. Most people don't take the actions because they never get the increased motivation that actually moves them in that direction. All right, so that's how that works. But what I want you to do right now is something I learned when I was in India in February, is if we're going to practice visualizing your breakthrough goal for just a second. What I want you to do in a moment is, well, you can do it now. Close your eyes. And I want you to imagine above your right eye. So you're looking up to the right. There's a white frame, a picture frame, like you would put a painting in. And in that white frame, I want you to visualize what you would see if you were looking out through your eyes at the world that would demonstrate that you'd achieved your breakthrough goal. It might be a check with an amount on it. It might be a bank statement. It might be that standing ovation. It might be you on a vacation somewhere. It might be the view out the window of your vacation home, with the water lapping up against the shore. It might be that dream car sitting in the driveway. It might be the analytics that you're looking at in terms of your search engine optimization and the amount of people that are your followers on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all the different platforms that are out there, Twitter. It might be your book cover of the book you wrote. Whatever it is, just looking up to the right into that white screen, visualizing as clearly as you can with as much power. Not everybody sees really clear pictures, but you can imagine the picture as best you can in that white frame. Hold that. And then feel the feeling you would feel if you'd already achieved that. Then go ahead, open your eyes and come on back. So that's the way I would like you to visualize your goal is already complete. So you're going to say your affirmation, then close your eyes, visualize the goal, 30 seconds to a minute. And once you've done it a few times, it's just really easy to create. The first time you do it, you have to fill in all the details. But basically, this is the sequence of what you want to do. You can also create a vision board where you put images outside of you. This is one I had a couple years ago. Different images of me with my being flexible, my wife and I being happy up in the upper right, audiences on the upper left, me being on Oprah, Montel, and Larry King, and Ellen DeGeneres in the lower right. You see that? I'll blow it up for you. And there's reaching millions with my message through the power of television. And here's a picture of me just shortly after that with Oprah Winfrey in her home doing Super Soul Sunday. And then this is in my home. She accepted an invitation to come to dinner. That's our dog, my wife, Inga. So all these things manifest if you work on them. So 20 minutes of meditation, visualization, affirmations, and be grateful. You can take a minute and list all the things you're grateful for. And then you want 20 minutes of reading, something uplifting, something that's going to help you in your business and your mindset. You can also listen to an audiobook if you'd rather do that while you're exercising or walking. But 20 minutes of something that's going to help you be a better person, do your work better. And 20 minutes of exercise, which will energize your body, keep you alive, also helps your brain function more fully. And I says, I named my dog 5 miles so I can tell people I walk 5 miles every day. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about actually walking 5 miles or getting on the treadmill or doing the exercise cycle, the Peloton, whatever it might be. All right. Next principle, winners take action. Winners take lots of action. You got to take action. Action is required. Practice the rule of 5. On your breakthrough goal, do 5 things every day that will lead to the achievement of your breakthrough goal. 5 things a day. In my company, we have these Post-it notes, and you have to write down your 5 priority action steps that you're going to take. Then you have to post that so everyone in the company knows what you're committed to. And then you don't go to bed until you check off the 5 things you got them done. So 5 action steps every day. Think about that. That's over 1,800 action steps by the end of the year toward your breakthrough goal. If you do that, you're going to achieve your goal. It's an inevitable result that will happen. Chicken Soup for the Soul, we did 5 things every day. Took us 14 months to hit our first bestseller list, but we went to the top of that list and then stayed there for 3 years, number 1 on the New York Times list. But we did 5 radio interviews, 5 podcasts, whatever it might have been, 5 a day. Now, there's 2 kinds of actions, obvious actions and inspired actions. Obvious actions, you want to be a doctor, you got to go to medical school, you got to study anatomy, physiology, you got to learn the names of the bones, you have to take biochemistry classes, etc. You got to sit for your internship, residency, take your boards, lots of obvious actions. There's also something called inspired actions. These are the actions that occur to you when you're meditating, because we've created that structural tension that we talked about, image versus reality. And when we create that, after about 30 days, you're going to get inspired actions. Like when I was working on 100,000 income a year, I realized I had this book, 100 Ways to Enhance Concept in a Classroom. If I sold, I was getting 30 cents a book. If I sold 300,000 copies, I'd make $100,000. And then my wife said, if we were a bookstore, we'd make $3 a book. We get the retail markup. Now we only have to sell about 33,000 books. So we started an online bookstore. So I was getting all these inspired ideas, and then we acted on them. This is a woman named Felissa Caserta who wanted to be, she was a hospital acute care nurse, and she hated doing all the administration she had to do. She wanted to be back on the floor, but there was no room for her in the hospital she was working at. So she got this inspiration during meditation to talk to one of the doctors she knew and see if that doctor, would have lunch with her. And, she knew that she probably didn't need a nurse, but maybe she could introduce her to somebody. Then, remember I told you, as soon as you set a goal, all those considerations, fears, and roadblocks show up. Well, all of a sudden she's going, why would she talk to me? I'm only a nurse. She'll only talk to me a couple of times. Probably doesn't even know who I am. I'll be a bother. But she took the action anyway. In other words, she felt the fear and she took the action anyway. And this other doctor said, fine, I have lunch with you. And they had lunch 2 days later. She said, I know a doctor. His name is Cameron McDougall. He might be looking for somebody. So she ended up having lunch with him a few days later, and he hires her. And now she's on the floor doing what she wants to do because she acted on the inspiration. Most people don't. Most people let their fears talk out of it. John Bon Jovi, the great singer. He took an inspired action one night. He's listening to a radio station. They came on the air and said, hey, there's nobody out there listening. It's 3 a.m. I don't even know why I'm on the air right now. And Bon Jovi said, well, I'm listening. So he went and bought a pizza and a 6-pack of beer, went to the radio station, knocked on the little glass window. Guy said, come on in. They sat there drinking beer and eating a pizza. And then what happens is he said, what do you do, kid? He said, I'm a rock band. I said, really? He said, any good? He says, yeah. He said, you wouldn't happen to have a demo tape with you? He said, yeah, I do. Pulled out his little demo tape. He said, you want to play one while you're playing another song? You can hear it on your earphone. He said, yeah. So then the next thing he knows, he says, hey, it's now 4 a.m. You didn't think anyone was listening. Would you mind playing one of my songs? I said, sure, no problem. Plays a song, says this local kid, John Bon Jovi, and the switchboard lights up. Who is this kid? Where I get his music? Started doing that all over New York, and that's how he became famous. Otherwise, no one would have known who he was. He's now worth $410 million because he acted on that inspiration. He didn't go like, oh, they'll never let in. What if the guy doesn't eat pizza? What if he doesn't drink beer? He just took the action, and the action paid off big time. So one of the actions you have to take if you want to be successful is ask, and reject rejection. And feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't worry about rejection. That's Oprah Winfrey on the right, walking on coals at Tony Robbins' Firewalk. It's another woman jumping out of a plane with a jump instructor. You got to be willing to do the thing you're afraid of and conquer it. Eleanor Roosevelt said, you gain strength, courage, and confidence every time you look fear in the face. You must do the thing which you think you cannot do. She said, the universe rewards bravery, and so it does. So again, 144 publishers rejected Chicken Soup for the Soul. 144. It took us 14 months to find a publisher. But the 144th publisher bought the book. If we had given up after 100, I would not be talking to you today. I would not be living in a $6 million home. I would not be, doing all the things I get to do as a result of the fact that I didn't give up. I kept on going. I asked until I got a yes. So I want you to become an asshole. Ask the same person many times. Ask a lot of people. If Howard Schultz Howard Schultz was turned down by 217 banks and investors. If he'd given up before he got to 218, there'd be no Starbucks. There's now 30,000 stores across the world in 80 countries, and he's worth $3.9 billion. So again, lots of no's. Ask. The law of probability says the more people you ask, the more yeses you're going to get. The more courses you take, the more likely one of them will dramatically change your life. And so basically, you've got to take that first step and start doing the things that are a little scary. Take that first step. And I want to share a step I think you might want to take today, and that is to learn more to earn more. You heard that in the introduction, that this is what this whole summit is about, is learning more to earn more. And basically, I love this cartoon. It says, accidentally listen to my motivation CDs backwards and became a failure. Please help. Obviously, we don't want you to do that. But we do want you to make sure you're getting information in the right order. And so you want to commit to constant and never-ending improvement, constantly learning more. The more you learn, the more value you are. Brian Tracy said, if you want to make more money, learn how to become more valuable to more people. How to reach more people and produce more valuable for the people you reach. So you can come back to you for more and more and more, and expanding your reach. There's only 7.5 billion people on the planet. There's a lot of people you can help. Now, Warren Buffett, who is the world's 7th wealthiest person, worth $78.9 billion, said to invest in as much of yourself as you can. You are your own asset by far. You, investing in you. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to invest in yourself today. I've given you an hour and about 20 minutes of information today. Imagine if you could get 30 hours of information that would literally transform your life, and you could go through it at your own pace online, and you could go through it very quickly. I've known people to go through the whole course in a week. I've known people to do it an hour a day. I've known people to take maybe a month to do it because they're integrating and applying what they're learning into their life. But these are the 10 modules: tapping into your true power, discovering your life purpose, which we didn't talk about today, but you don't want to get to the top of the ladder and realize the ladder is running against the wrong wall. Each of you is born with a unique purpose that you're here to manifest, that you're here to bring to the world by being truly who you are, following your inner guidance, following what you're attracted to, and being yourself fully. And then aligning your activities with your purpose and your passions so that you're clear what turns you on, what makes you come alive. And then from that, defining your dreams and turning them into goals, as we created a breakthrough goal today, which is just one small part of that. And then programming your mind for success. We touched a little about that in terms of affirmations and visualization. going much deeper into activating the law of attraction, which attracts things to you, how to take bold and inspired action. How do you keep yourself in action when you're having obstacles show up, when people aren't always doing what you want them to do, when you have setbacks, when you don't feel like it? How do you stay motivated? How do you have an accountability partner, a mastermind group? Developing new success habits. There are people that are successful, like the billionaires we talked about, talking about their habits of meditation and reading and exercise and so forth. And there's many other habits they have, like delegation and so forth. What are those habits? And how do you make sure to become your habits? If you learn 4 new habits a year, in 10 years, you'd have 40 success habits that would just make you unstoppable. And then creating a community of support around you, and then ultimately how to unleash your full potential no matter what. And as Jennifer Burrows said, Jack said, if I did everything he said, I would double my income and double my time off in 2 years, which I told you about in the beginning. I did everything every day, no excuses, no exceptions. And he was right. She did double her income. Now, I'm also going to give you some bonus things. If you enroll today, you're going to get all these guided meditations that we teach. You're going to get audio downloads for every session. So if you want to play it in your car or your earphones while you're running or exercising, you'll get action guides and worksheets for implementation. You'll get weekly coaching guide that's going to help you make sure you stay on stay on course to get the course finished. And you're going to get a deep dive Q&A session. Over 120 of the most frequently asked questions that people bring up when they're going through the course. You're going to get answers to those. There's a tapping seminar. If you don't know about Eft tapping, where we tap on these 9 acupressure points whenever fear comes up, limiting beliefs come up, we can literally disappear them, have them release in 5 minutes or less simply by tapping. You no longer have to let fear stop you for any reason. Limiting beliefs like, I don't know enough, I'm not enough, well, I started too late, I'm too young, I don't have a big enough, following, whatever it is, all that stuff. So 2.5-hour video seminar that you'll have access to that will demonstrate tapping to you, teach you how to do it, walk you through it, let you walk through it with the video so you can actually start tapping. Tapping is one of the most powerful breakthroughs we have in the 21st century. It's amazing. You no longer have to let your childhood limiting beliefs, which you formed somewhere between the ages of 3 and 8. Imagine if you were getting on a plane and someone was getting on the plane and he had a captain's uniform on, 3 stripes on the sleeves and the captain's cap, and he walked into the cabin, but he was only 6 years old. How would you feel? 6-year-old's going to pilot your 727, jumbo jet. Most of us would be a little nervous. And yet many of you are walking around with the 6 or 8-year-old piloting your life. And so we want to reprogram those limiting beliefs to become self-empowering, supportive beliefs instead of self-destructive limiting beliefs. And then also you're going to get the book, Living the Success Principles, the ebook, Living the Success Principles, stories of people just like you who went through the course or read the book, took the seminars, and who transformed their life. Like some of the people I told you about in the beginning, like John Keller, who was homeless and then became a multi-millionaire. Andre Spira, who was homeless and became a billionaire. So those would be inspirational stories that will help you stay the course, if you will. Now, we have an event special for you. Normally, this course is $12.97. If you were to go to my website right now, jackcanfield.com, it's $12.97. You don't want to have to pay that price. So we have an event special. It's about half price, $695. Or you can do a 4-pay of $200. So if you want to pay it out over monthly, you can do that. You're saving almost 50%, 45% off the normal price. So all you have to do is go to ClickSeminars.Live/Jack. That's me. ClickSeminars.Live/Jack. You'll get the bonus sessions. You'll be also able to be in a private Facebook group, which we've created. And you have 100% money back guarantee for 30 days. If you don't think this is worth the value you got, you can always ask for your money back. No questions asked. Now let's look at what stops most people from taking action. Here you have an action that can change your life. I promise you. Hundreds of thousands of people's lives have been changed by this course. What stops most people is fear. Fear of being conned, fear of not getting value, fear of making a mistake, fear of losing their money, fear of looking stupid, fear of having your wife or husband say, "What'd you do?" All the kind of fears that come up that stop us from being successful. So I want you to look at right now, if you're thinking about this, but you haven't yet clicked on, the URL, what's the fear or limiting belief that's showing up right now that could stop you from taking this step? Just take a moment to think about that. What fear or limiting belief is stopping you from making a decision that could change your life forever, that could 10 times your income, that could have you doubling your income, tripling your income, having more time for your family, having more passive income. And we're back to the whack-a-mole situation. You now can see it. Now you can let this mole control you, or you can take control of it. Wonderful quote that almost everyone in the Human Potential Movement talks about. How you do anything is how you do everything. So right now you have an opportunity to learn how you keep yourself stuck and to step through it and liberate yourself so that you can start taking steps in the future and liberating yourself to create the life that you want. But you have to take the leap. You have to take the leap. And that, for a lot of people, can be scary. But I'm going to suggest again, just feel the fear and do it anyway. And it's not because I need another couple $100. It really isn't. I mean, I have enough money for the next 3 generations. I'm here because I want to make a difference in your life, because I saw how these principles made a difference in my life. This is called paying it forward. Scott Schilling said, after I took the course, I made 22% of my 360-day salary in just 2 days. Opportunities are flying at me. Rick Kurzak said, it totally transformed my business. My business doubled in just 2 years. Here's John Caleb. Literally now, he is the #1 top guru for motivation, success. They call him the money magnet. He's an incredible example of what happens when you just live the work. These are all the different people he met since he took that seminar with me, started applying the principles. Here he is talking to a room full of probably 800 to 1,000 people. This is a woman who won a Guinness World Record, applying what she learned, tripled her income in 1 year. Again, just go to ClickSeminars.Live/Jack. It's a woman in India, Pooja Puneet, says, radically increased my income, started my own training business, put on the first TEDx conference ever in India. She was a preschool teacher before that. Totally changed her life. So 2 months from now, you could ask yourself, did I do the thing that changed my life? I want to thank myself, or am I going to wish I'd done it? So remember, decisions you make and the actions you take today will shape the way you live your future. So again, I invite you, take that first step right now, today. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step, as Martin Luther King said. I encourage you to go to ClickSeminars.Live/Jack, sign up for the course. Remember, money back guaranteed, tons of things that are available for you. You're going to get all of that. All of the bonuses are available for you. It's an amazing deal, guys. I'm teaching you pretty much everything I know for an investment of a couple $100. And there you have it. ClickSeminars.Live, Jack Canfield. 100% guaranteed. You can't lose. The only risk is to risk your life not being what it could be. If you click on that, you're going to end up at this page here. Just click on one of the things you want to pay full. You want to pay on a 4PAN. Then it's going to take you to pay by credit card, pay by PayPal, do all the normal things, and your life will never be the same. You'll look back. I'll end with this cartoon. He says, oh crap, was that today? You do not want to miss the boat. This is an opportunity to change your future. So don't miss the boat. Make sure you're on board for your future. So jump on board now. I love you guys. I'm here to support you. Thank you very much for joining me.